Styles make fights. The old cliche that gets repeated over and over again in the sport of boxing. But in a lot of cases, I think it's a very valid term to be used, and particularly in this upcoming fight on June 25th between Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter. Now, you could look at Keith Thurman and you could match him up against certain welterweights and say, yeah, you know what? Because of his speed, athleticism, and his ability to move very well in the ring and box well from the outside and go in and out on guys, you would say that that particular style would definitely trouble a lot of guys in the sport. And you could say Shawn Porter, being that rough and rugged guy who has a way of working his way inside, has very good foot speed, very underrated boxing skills, but is very strong on the inside, makes it rough for guys on the inside, and has an ability to wear guys down because of his constant pressure. You can say that obviously that style would give certain fighters problems. But when you take Keith Thurman's style and you take Shawn Porter's style and put them together, I think you have an excellent matchup. But also there's some strengths on Shawn Porter's side that can really be utilized to exploit some of Keith Thurman's weaknesses. Now, again, Keith Thurman is looked upon as being the favorite in this fight, and a lot of guys are picking Keith Thurman to beat Shawn Porter, and they're looking at Shawn Porter's fight against Kell Brook and saying, hey, you know what? He couldn't beat Kell Brook. How's he going to beat Keith Thurman? Well, again, Kell Brook employed a very, very intelligent style of fight against Shawn Porter. It was a very, very good game plan going in against Shawn Porter. Now, obviously, the plan was to tie Shawn Porter up on the inside and be able to nullify him once he got close and not allow him to throw his combinations. And I compare that type of performance to Shane Mosley's performance against Antonio Margarito, because Antonio Margarito is a relentless guy too in his own right. Maybe not as fast as Shawn Porter was or athletic as Shawn Porter was, but had that same approach to boxing where he was relentless, loved to get inside and throw a lot of punches on the inside, a lot of volume. He liked to outwork his opponents up close and wear them down. Very similar to what Shawn Porter likes to do. I don't think Keith Thurman has that same type of style that Kell Brook has. Now, Kell Brook would grab Shawn Porter and he would release him just before the referee stepped in and broke them. And he would release him and punch off the clinch. Keith Thurman's not that same type of style as Kell Brook. Keith Thurman's a guy whose major weapon on defense is his legs. So his legs are his first line of defense. He's not a guy who really stays in there and uses a lot of physical strength on the inside, grabs his opponent, wraps him up. We saw against Robert Guerrero, Diego Chavez, and even Luis Collazo up close. They had some success. They had some success on the inside, but the only difference between those guys and Shawn Porter is Shawn Porter arguably is physically stronger than those guys, and he's definitely quicker in terms of the foot speed department than those guys. So it's going to be hard for Keith Thurman to be able to gauge Shawn Porter when he darts in and darts out because he's so explosive. It's not going to be as easy as it was fighting those guys. So I think that's one advantage that Shawn Porter has in this fight is he'll be able to cut the ring off because of his foot speed, and he'll be able to operate on the inside effectively because Keith Thurman is not going to really grab him. And if he does grab him, we saw how Robert Guerrero was grabbed and he was being clinched by Keith Thurman, but he was able to kind of fight his way through those clinches. And although Keith Thurman won that fight, it was a hard fight. It was a type of fight where he had to bring his lunch pail to that fight. It was no easy walk in the park for Keith Thurman. So, as I said, Keith Thurman is a guy who likes to use his legs, go in and out, but there's times when Keith Thurman will lay back and try to suck his opponent into counter shots. So he's not always aggressive, and he hasn't really been knocking guys out like he was early in his career. I think that as the opposition has gotten better, the knockouts have dissipated, and I think will continue to dissipate. So I think Shawn Porter because of his foot speed, will be able to get inside, cut the ring off when Keith Thurman tries to move away from him. And I don't think Shawn Porter will be sucked into those counters, because once Shawn Porter does get inside, and when he does work his way in, he works behind a very effective jab, because I think his boxing skills are very underrated. I don't think he's just this crude brawler, mauler type that people say he is. I think there's a method to his badness. Throws good feints, so he's able to feint his way inside, and behind those feints, throws a good jab. And it's not just a basic jab. He changes up the rhythm, goes up and down with that jab. Doesn't always look to land on the face. He'll touch his opponent on the shoulder or the chest, just to be able to move them back. So I think Shawn Porter's offense is a lot more sophisticated than people think. And because of that, the foot speed, and because of the physical strength on the inside, and because of the relentless pressure, I think he'll force Keith Thurman to move a lot more than he really wants to. So Keith Thurman's used to moving away from guys and having that time to react to them because they're a lot slower than him. I think because of Shawn Porter's speed, he's not going to have that time to react. He's not going to have that time to reset. He's not going to have that time to breathe in this fight. So I think taking that into consideration and looking at all of the little elements to Shawn Porter's game, all the facets to Shawn Porter's game, I think this is going to be a very, very tough fight for Keith Thurman. And I think Shawn Porter, because of his relentless pressure and because of his speed and because of his ability to fight better on the inside, I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to be able to bully Keith Thurman a little bit and outwork him and maul him on the inside. And I don't think Keith Thurman's going to be able to move the entire fight. I think he's going to slow down. And once he does slow down, after having to deal with the physical strength of Shawn Porter and the relentless pressure of Shawn Porter, I think Shawn Porter's going to start to break him down. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say Shawn Porter is going to stop him, but a late stoppage in this fight is not out of the realm of possibility. But I think Shawn Porter, will be the stronger and more effective fighter in this fight. I think he will be able to impose his game plan on Keith Thurman. And I'm looking for Shawn Porter to have a pretty good performance against Keith Thurman. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think at the end of the day, he'll be able to impose his style over Keith Thurman and not the other way around. So I'm going with Shawn Porter in this fight. I think Shawn Porter will win this fight, probably by unanimous decision. And I think it'll be a great performance, and I think it'll turn out to be a great fight. Let me know what you guys think. That's all I got for you right now. Talk to y'all soon. Until next time, peace.